Yeah, this makes me feel like a lumberjack. I instantly am wearing plaid, cut off arms. I have an axe, and I'm in the wilderness.
Hey, you know what? If real estate ever fails you, I feel like you could make that work.
Right?
Welcome to the Whiskey and Real Estate Podcast. I'm Alex Peterson, and tonight I'm joined with my friend, colleague, and fellow Southwestern real estate agent from Miami, Rodrigo Povoa. How you doing?
Man, I'm living the dream, as they say, you know,
Yeah,
one day at a time.
love it. I love it. Hey, so tonight we are going to be sipping on a couple different whiskeys. As always, I am using my traditional Glencairn, and Rodrigo is going real fancy with his chalice. Cheers to a good night, buddy.
Cheers, my friend. Cheers. Wow.
So, have you ever had this before?
Once, probably my senior year of college. And the only reason why I remember that is because it was a gift that a buddy of mine gave me at the time for like graduation, even though he was graduating with me. So I think he just wanted an excuse and someone to celebrate it with.
Hey, that's fair.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I just remembered. It's a strong, woody.
You get anything other than like that oak woodiness.
No, that's what overpowers.
That's about like the big thing that I get on this specific bottle is yeah, it's a lot of just strong oakiness on the nose. Palate's nice. I mean, like it drinks nice. It's not super peated, so you don't get a lot of that smokiness.
Yeah, this makes me feel like a lumberjack. I instantly am wearing plaid, cut off arms. I have an axe, and I'm in the wilderness.
Hey, you know what? If real estate ever fails you, I feel like you could make that work.
Right? Man, it's
Hey,
too
well,
funny.
talking real estate, what got you into it, man? How'd you start? Why real estate, and then why Southwestern real estate?
Yeah, good question. Real estate has always been in my family. Like I've always grown up around it. I think aha moment and light bulb that went off was my second job out of college. I was selling software in Atlanta, and I was in a one-on-one meeting with our global VP of sales. We had just come off this high, closed out the quarter. My team and I were number one in the company, and I was asking him about his family, his son. He lived in Scotland, so he was always on a plane, and it just dawned on me that he had been in this industry for 25 years, and he spent more time in a plane than anywhere else in the decade that he had been working with the company. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but that is where the light bulb went off for me, because I was like, wait a minute, is this what I'm signing up for? Is this my path? Right? And I didn't want it. Right. I wanted to have a little bit more autonomy around my time and what I did with it and my schedule. Long story short, I put in my 2 weeks, got my real estate license 28 days later, and jumped in, into the deep end, if you will.
Yeah.
And that was 2019. So after I went to like my first training seminar and, was fully licensed, joined a team, the world then shut down, at the beginning of fiscal 2020.
Yes. So was that
Yeah.
your first full calendar year then doing real estate was 2020?
2020 was my first full calendar year in Atlanta with no other job, just, in the trenches, trying to get this business kind of like put together and leveraging my network in Atlanta, right? And it was interesting for sure.
I didn't realize that we both started basically at the exact same time. Like I left my corporate job in 2019
Yeah.
and I got my license, was doing that, and then 2020 was my first full year, full time, no safety net, like in real estate.
Yeah, because I got my license. I remember the day exactly. I remember where I was. I was in the parking lot after I gotten my exam, and I was just sitting there with the envelope in my hand. I was like, do I open it now? Do I drive home? Do I wait for my parents to come home? Do we open it together? And I kind of just like, nah, I'm just going to open it right now. It was like in the afternoon. And then I FaceTimed my parents. And I was like, yo, I did it. I got it. And it was super exciting. And then it hit me and I'm like, wait a minute. I got it. That means I got to go to work. So I drive to the office. I start interviewing brokers and stuff like that. But I ultimately knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to find a mentor that can kind of help pave the path, if you will. And I had no idea, 4 months later, the world would shut down essentially.
Man, dude, that's absolutely crazy. But you mentioned you wanted mentorship, so you found a brokerage that offered that?
Well, it was interesting. So, like I said, I had always been around it, right? Like my parents growing up, they invested in properties. They always bought them. Before I got my real estate license, I bought a piece of property on the Panhandle of Florida in Panama City Beach with my dad, and that was the first deal we brokered together. I ended up firing the property management team 2 years after owning it, and then managed it myself via Airbnb. So that ended up like increasing a lot of our profits. We had a lot more autonomy, visibility, and it was great. Like we held on to that property for 9 years. Last year, I ended up putting it on the market and we sold it. And then we just moved the money, to Miami, bought another investment property down here. So I was always around it. One of my good friends, childhood friends growing up, married this girl, right? And, now they have two kids and everything, but her mom is a big real estate mogul in the Atlanta market. And I mean, now she's, international, but I had my sights set on her because I always knew of her and I knew she did really well. She had, decades of experience. So she was one of the people I interviewed. I interviewed with her first and then met with a couple of other brokers. And I mean, it was a no-brainer. Like, she if I was willing to work, she was willing to pour into me, and so it was a good match.
So you were in Atlanta, you're in Miami now. So give me the, quick, how'd you go from Atlanta to Miami?
Yeah, so to your second question, right? Like why Southwestern real estate? I was originally with Berkshire Hathaway in Atlanta, and then I moved down here, and moving down here was always intentional for two reasons. One, climate and growth opportunity. Atlanta is small and it's an amazing market and it's growing rapidly, probably top 10 markets in the US, I would say. And there's almost like a synergy between Atlanta and South Florida in terms of not only like state licensing and reciprocity reasons for me to get licensed, but a lot of clientele move back and forth between both markets. So I wanted to take advantage of that. So after I got my license, I actually interviewed with Berkshire Hathaway down here, and that was going to originally be my first choice just to consolidate licenses, keep them together, whatever. But then, Dave was already with Southwestern, familiar with the ecosystem and the people. I was familiar with the president. And I was like, well, those are pretty cool people to work with. So I'm gonna, put them in the roster to interview as well, just to see what they have going on. And ultimately, it ended up being a great conversation with both Nick, the broker down here, and the president, Pat. And I felt comfortable. I felt confident because they were supportive of my vision, moving to a different market. I didn't know anybody down here. I had just purchased a condo and I had to start over again from scratch. And this was in the same year, right? So I was starting the year in Atlanta and then I closed on the condo December 21st, 2020. Not even a year after building the Atlanta business, I was like, all right, bet I'm expanding. I'm going to go to Miami, right? And oh yeah, I'm going to buy a condo too. The risk mitigator there was for me to get another 9 to 5 job again, software sales, to build a network. That was like a massive factor in which brokerage was going to be able to support that. Like, how long are you going to be part-time while you build this thing and go back to being full-time? And so they were super supportive, like from the jump. In fact, actually, I didn't have my license until March, I believe, of 2021 in Florida. So Nick helped me broker the deal that I purchased down here because I wasn't licensed yet.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. That was also just like icing on the cake, right? Outside of all the conversations we had, I threw in the mix of like, oh, by the way, I'm looking to buy a condo. Like, can you represent me representing myself because my license isn't fully active yet? And he, like, without hesitation, he was like, yeah, dude, absolutely. What can I do to help? And so that was really cool. Dave also helped kind of set up showings and stuff like that because he had MLS and showing time access. So it's like,
Yeah.
lot of dominoes or pieces that fell into place for me to be like, wow, these people got my back and I don't even work for them yet. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just a no-brainer. Like
Yeah.
that was why.
That's cool. That's cool. Gotta assume that's got something to do with you sticking around. I mean, you came down here, you got into Miami 2021. We're coming into 2025 now, and you're still happy. You're still crushing it. You're still sticking around, or are you looking elsewhere?
No, man. I know 10-year brokerages typically falter after a couple of years, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm there yet. And I think the company, the people around me, like we're all headed in the same direction. So really it's just like how high can we climb? And I love that. And I think double downing in my market now, I've gotten finally to a place where, I've left the corporate America again, and I've built the foundation of the business, and now I'm trying to pour gasoline into the fire essentially.
And dude, you had one heck of a fire last year. I mean, Rodrigo crushed it. He came in number 9 in our company last year.
Yeah.
He did beat out by yours truly. We're chasing it down again this year together.
How far off were we? We were pretty close, right? We were neck and neck. What did you?
Yeah, I think we were less than like $10,000 apart.
Yeah, yeah, I should have closed another deal. Look at that. Slap on my wrist.
Dude, I had one that got pushed in January, so it would have been a bigger gap if that had worked. But
Yeah, fair
it's good
enough.
though. It's good. Like, so I didn't realize though that our timelines align almost like weirdly because first calendar year in real estate 2020. You came to Southwestern Real Estate in 2021. I came to Southwestern Real Estate in 2021 because you said it was March of 21 that you actually got licensed down here. So that would have been your
Yeah,
start. I came to Southwestern Real Estate in March of 2021 and have been here ever since. And then we both hit the top 10 for the first time in the same year. Were between $5,000 and $10,000 separated on where we finished mission wise. Dude, it's wild. I didn't realize there were so many
yeah.
similarities in our stories, man. That's so
We're
cool.
we're almost in lockstep. And the beauty too is this is what I tell people that like think about getting into the business. There's so many ways to skin the cat, right, as they say. Because the way I've done it and the way you've done it are similar in a lot of ways, but we're also different people and we have different personalities, different strategies as well to get to the same result, which is a cool aspect of this job, I think.
Yeah, it's great that they kind of give us this glorious like platter of here's how you do it. And then everybody molds this beautiful structure on top of it that's unique to them, but it's all rooted in principles. Like we all have very similar foundations. We all start in the same spot, but how we build and how we create, and it makes it great because we can genuinely cheer for each other and, bounce ideas off each other. And like you said, our businesses are very different. I mean, I'm 35, I'm married, I've been married for 11 going on 12 years. I've got 4 kids. That's a very different lifestyle than what you're getting to live at the moment in Miami. Soon
Yeah.
enough, I'm sure that's going to change for you.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm catching up in that department, if you will. Taking my time, of course, but very excited for it, right? We just got engaged and then, we're planning on figuring out when the best time is going to be to get married, plan the wedding, and like do all these things, which is fun. And, she also wants a puppy and then looking at houses. So a lot of these things are falling into places, which is so exciting. It's a very exciting time to be. And it also kind of lights a fire too, to the business. Um, because it puts things in perspective. It allows us to now tag team effort wise and how we budget, plan, and spend and invest and stuff like that. So it's really cool, man. It's an exciting chapter, I think, for the beginning of 2025, writing off of the momentum of 24.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait to see where you're headed and what this year's going to bring you. Let's chat a little bit more about this whiskey. So I'm almost done with my first glass
Same.
here. What are your thoughts so far overall? What's it taste like? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's nostalgic. It's not my favorite. It's woody, like we talked about. And the few chest hairs that I have is from every time that I drink this type of whiskey. It's definitely a man's drink, if you will.
I'll have to get you up here someday, and I'll let you share with me in some of this Highland Park 18-year-old single malt Scotch, man.
Oh,
That's a treat.
yep.
But that is not what we're drinking today. This is definitely a bit softer. It finishes pretty quickly. It doesn't really linger flavor wise for me at all.
Yeah.
You get the woodiness and you get your general like Scotch single malt kind of feel. It's nothing dramatic. It's memorable enough. It's not a bad whiskey by any means. I typically have a different variation of this bottle on my shelf, but
It's a safe bet, like entry safe bet, I think. Like this is a wide palette, if you will.
yeah, yeah. So this is definitely not something that's going to break the budget. One. So if you want to try scotch that's not going to like smack you in the face with peat, that's the smokiness. And it's just going to kind of be a simple entry. Here's your king. Fittich 12 year. It's a good bottle. I think out here it's around $40. Is that about what you see it for in your area?
40 to 60, just depends where you're at. Yeah, if you're in the city, it's going to be a little bit more. If you're on the beach, it'll be a little bit more. You're on the burbs, it's less.
Yeah, that's fair. I think honestly, personally, I prefer their 14 year.
Mm.
This one they finish in bourbon casks, and when you finish a scotch in a bourbon barrel, it's a happy world. It is
Mm.
a happy world, my friend.
Duly noted.
So the two keys on scotch, if you're wanting to try other scotches and you're wanting to kind of build your scotch repertoire, look for bourbon barrel finishes because I know you like your bourbons, or sherry finish. Sherry finish is going to give it a lot sweeter taste on the end. You're going to get a lot more fruit, more of the floral tones that are naturally within the single malt process come out with that. I had one last night that was it was a sherry finish, and it was so sweet. It was like lemon zest and floral tones. Then you had
Oh,
some
that
like
sounds
just
so good.
dry fruit. Dude, it was delicious, and it was a 12 year, same price range. So as good as this is, if you want to know what I was drinking the other night, you're gonna have to find my video with my good buddy and insurance broker Andrew Denton. I'm sure we'll throw it up here for you guys, so you can go find it real easy. But that's a great bottle as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to pour round two, and we're going to get back after it. All right, we're back. We've got round two. We've got something new. It's going to be delicious. So let's get after it. Let me know what you're smelling, what you're tasting. Give us the rundown.
Yeah, this one I like a lot more. I usually don't do it neat. I do it on ice with like an orange peel at a golf resort or by a beach, hopefully. And this one always brings good memories. It's usually when I'm with the boys and we're doing cloth talk, where it's just like, we're catching. Yeah, we call it cloth talk because usually we're somewhere with white tablecloth, like for dinner, and we're talking about all the good things that's going on in our lives and plans for the future. And there's always an old fashioned on the table, right? Everybody's doing old fashioned kind of night.
I love old fashions.
Yeah, so this is my favorite bottle because it always brings great memories.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's is this earthy to you or is that just me?
That's probably one of my favorite words for whiskey because I'm never really sure what someone means by earthy. My brain constantly just goes to, I have not gone out in my front yard and just licked the ground recently, so that's not a flavor that I'm used to. So if you're saying earthy, like, are you licking trees, rocks, grass? What is it? What should
Yeah,
I?
dude, you should try it. It's good for the buds of the taste. No, I'm kidding. I think like earthy to me, it reminds me of like walking into a warehouse and there's nothing but just like either fresh cut timber or like these crates and barrels and you get that like forest smell like that. I don't know, that's kind of like what comes to mind for me. I don't know if
I
that's
like
too
that.
too vivid, maybe.
Do you get any caramel? I get
Yes,
like
it's
caramel and
much
vanilla.
sweeter, much sweeter. I think that's why I like it. I do have a sweeter palate, just in general.
All right, so let's get back after it. So you had talked about having an Airbnb. Now you've got a place down in Miami.
Yeah, house hacking in a nutshell is outsourcing the debt obligation you have. So you buy a house, let's say your mortgage is $2,000 on this house. If you were single or you need a roommate and you have an extra room or there's an efficiency, right? Wherever you bought your property, where you may have an opportunity is to outsource a part of, or if not all of that debt obligation to somebody else to help put a roof over their head. And in return, you get to theoretically live for free, if not almost close. So that is house hacking 101. It's just leveraging somebody else's income to, put a little bit of money in your pocket every single month.
And I mean, it's a great concept. And a lot of people are like, oh man, like, why doesn't everybody do this? And it's like, you got to take your own lifestyle into consideration when you do that. For someone who's married with kids, if they're buying their first place, trying to buy a place where you're going to rent a room out or you're low level, that can be complicated when you've got that. Now, you're single, you're dating, whatever, that might be simpler. You still got to come up with the money. I had a guy that bought a place in Chicago 2 years ago now. It was zoned as a three flat. It was redone as a two. The basement needed to be. You could put a kind of a garden suite down there if you wanted to. I don't think he's done that yet, but it was already rented out. A tenant on the first floor. He was going to live in the second floor. It was a 3 bed, 2 bath unit. He had one bedroom for him, rented out the other 2 bedrooms in the unit. He was paying his mortgage down twice. Every month he was making two full mortgage payments because of what he was bringing in. Now this guy has decided, well, I've got a girlfriend, and so he's staying with her, and He's Airbnb his place on a regular basis. He's got a full-time tenant in the main level, and he's like, the thing's paid off almost at this point because he's only had it for a few years. He used this is another fun trick. I don't know if you bring this up, but the FHA 3.5 down on you can get a 2, 3, 4 unit all under the FHA 3.5 down, which is just wild to get into your first property. So he bought this $500,000 property with 3.5 down and has just let everybody else pay off his mortgage. It's
No,
glorious.
dude, that example is prime. If you can get yourself in that position, I think the first hurdle is just education and curiosity. If you're a little bit curious about what are the ways to do that, and then you find a professional that you know, love, and trust in your market, and you learn about how to execute, then really the only thing that you're having to align is what you said. It's lifestyle. And for your client here, it sounds to me like he had the stars kind of aligned for him and he took advantage of that opportunity because I think any investor or most investors, analysts would probably agree with this statement. The multifamily real estate investment vehicle is the number one A-class asset right now, because to your point, if you can get a three or a fourplex, even a duplex, honestly, but a multifamily property for 3,500 or 3.5% down, right? And then outsource the majority, if not a surplus of that debt, to tenants. I mean, you're really just hyper accelerating the equity that you're going to build in that property, right? You don't have to rely on the market. Like a lot of people that bought between 2018 and 2020, they saw from 21 to 24 a hyper acceleration that generally you only see between 8 and 12 years. Real estate, the rule of thumb is real estate doubles every 10 to 15 years, right? Depending on your market. So, people that bought in Miami, they're seeing a 50 to 60% appreciation between those years, which is 2 to 4 years, depending on when you bought, which is unheard of. Probably won't happen again. So people like your client that were able to get in for, as little as possible, live in it, and then house hack on top of it. I mean, he has all the leverage in the world now for however he wants to build, his nest egg, essentially.
Yeah. So have you executed this in Florida with anybody that you know or yourself?
Yeah, great question. So when I first moved down here, I didn't go the multifamily route because of lifestyle. I just didn't want to do that. So not the end of the world because I could still pivot to that. But I bought a condo. It was a 3-bed, 3-bath, 23rd floor, corner unit, unobstructed water view. So I got sunrise, sunset, city on my left, bay on my right. And it was one of the few buildings that was approved by Fannie Mae. Not to get into the weeds, it just means it was a highly sought after product when it comes to condo purchasing in the South. And since it was 3 bedrooms, I moved down, obviously occupying 1 bedroom. I had a business partner come with me. He lived in the other room. We put 5% down. I negotiated 3% commission. So I paid myself $4,000 to purchase a $500,000 condo. And then one of my other buddies from Atlanta was considering moving down, said, hey, come spend a weekend with us. The weekend turned into him staying 2 weeks in our 3rd bedroom. He quit his job, got hired in the next place, and then ended up moving in. And, I was living in that condo. I think our mortgage all in was about $4,600 a month. And I was paying $800 to live there. Yeah, all in. So we're talking mortgage, PMIT, right? Like, so mortgage, HOA, and PMI, taxes, insurance, like the whole kit and caboodle. I was paying $800 a month to live in Miami in a luxury building. So
Now,
if you're
for all the people in Chicago area that don't understand this, think about living downtown Chicago in borderline penthouse suite. I mean, we're talking
oh
gold. I
yeah,
mean, out in the suburbs, dude. I mean, 800 is good, but I don't think some of the suburb people really quite understand how
yeah, no,
fantastic $800 a month is in that area.
that's like maybe probably not West Loop, probably more like somewhere between like Lincoln Park and North. What is that neighborhood, that borough called?
You talking about River North?
River North. Yeah, okay. Maybe like a combination of those boroughs if I had to like directly kind of put it. Or maybe even like Streeterville, Navy Pier because you get the water
You
view.
get the water, right?
Right. So like just Picture being in a high-rise condo there, three bed, three bath, on the 23rd floor, overlooking, the lake and
Yeah.
paying $800 a month, and you own it. All right. That's
Yeah.
the equivalent. So it was awesome, dude.
Anybody who wants to do that and you live in Chicago or the Miami area, you definitely know who to call because both of us can get that done and help you guys live what feels like a dream because it's doable. Like these things are not, make believe. You see a lot of stuff on Instagram and YouTube and it's like, get into real estate, make a ton of money, don't use your money, use somebody else's money, and you can be a millionaire in 12 weeks and have 120 properties. It's like, wait, are you serious? Like you guys, it's not that simple. But it's also not as complicated as a lot of people make it seem. Like when you've got a good agent who understands the ins and outs, they've got good lenders or alternative financing opportunities for you. The sky is the limit. Like you can do a lot of cool stuff, but you got to have the right people to piece it all together.
No, 100%, man. I echo that every day of the week. And, it's really a part of the brand too, because I am preaching exactly what I'm doing every other year. I end up moving and buying something else and renting out the previous property and house hacking the next, right? This condo that I'm in now is down the street from the one that I just mentioned. And I have a spare bedroom that a fellow Chicago friend of mine moved down and relocated again, snowbird, and ended up loving it. And now he's here and he's, paying for a third of my rent or a third of my mortgage with his rent. So, it's doable because I'm in a very small window of this lifestyle and season of my life that I can take advantage of this. It's not going to be here for forever. So,
Yeah.
especially for like my first time home buyers or anybody in their early 20s who haven't necessarily mapped out a lot of these long-term relationship commitment pieces and they're a little bit more flexible with their lifestyle. Dude, I'm like, park excess income, get you an asset, and then if most of your friends are renting, why not rent from you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to be the best landlord, right? Especially if you have a professional being the mediator, putting contracts in place and, making sure everything is squared away, everybody's protected. It's, dude, like all of my tenants are my friends. It's the best thing because I'll go to them first or I'll go to my network and just be like, yo, one of my condos is coming up. Like, does anybody need a place to live? And there's already trust there both ways. And, because you hear a lot of horror stories about, oh, I don't want to be a landlord. It's like, well, who would want to be a landlord when you hear these horror stories and then you come to find out they never really had the right people and processes put in place? So, yeah, I wouldn't want to be a landlord either if that were
Right.
the case. I digress, though.
Hey, so what kind of advice do you have for first time buyers? They've been sitting on the sidelines, they want to buy, they're not sure where to start, when to pull the trigger. What do you got for them?
Okay, so my number one advice right now, it's 2025. If you are employed, you have a good job, okay? You've got good credit, so anything above 700, and you have some money set aside. And look, this third piece here is arbitrary. So wherever you think you want to buy in terms of price point, take 10% of that conservatively, right? And if you have that in cash, those are the three ingredients. Because the number one question, I don't know about you, Alex, the number one question that I get is, yo, Rod, is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? Is it a good time to invest right now? And that is a great question, but impossible to give a blanket answer. If you're looking to buy right now, my first three questions are you employed? Do you have good credit? And do you have, 10% of what you think you can get in this market? If the answer is yes to all three and you're still renting, absolutely get out of renting as quickly as you can. Get into a property, ideally something that is a two bed or multifamily, because then you have the opportunity to house hack and put in some self-liquidating debt strategies so that you can build some wealth. That is my $1 million piece of advice that I have today.
Dude, I love that. I love that. Now, what about all those people that are like, but what if the rates drop by the end of the year? Why don't I wait for the rates to drop?
Great question. I would love for the rates to drop. Unfortunately, so does the other 72 million people that are waiting on the sideline, right? And my advice there is just get with your lender, get with your financial advisor, get your team together and get everybody's perspective on what happens if we wait. And it's called opportunity cost. If you purchase something now, chances are that you are going to pay X price. And if there is a stimulus in the economy, whatever stimulus that is, right? In this particular example, if rates drop, that just means there's going to be more competition for that exact same home, which means, okay, sure, you're going to save, let's call it 1% on a 30-year mortgage, but you're
Yeah.
going to pay anywhere between $20,000 and $50,000 more because of the competition. So, is it worth waiting? Probably not. Everybody's heard the saying, when is the best time to buy real estate? The answer is yesterday. When's the second best time? Today. My advice is, run the numbers. What is the probability that you're going to pay more? It's probably higher. It's a leap of faith that you need to take ultimately. And you're never going to run into, the problem of interest rates is never going to go away. And ultimately you can always refinance. If you buy it for a lower price now, lock in a higher rate, and then the rates drop dramatically, which they usually don't, but let's say they did. Well, guess what? Now you've acquired the property $20,000 or $50,000 less, and you can refi.
Best
You
of
just
both worlds.
you just won. Thank yourself. The future
I
self is thanking you.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The only other thing I ask when I'm talking to people outside of those questions is, are you planning to stay in the area for more than the next 24 months? And if you're thinking I might relocate in the next 12 months, don't start buying a property right now. If you buy a property now and it's not something that's rentable, which happens, there are associations that don't allow it, or you decide that you don't want to manage a property out of state, there are added complications with that. So if you're planning to stick around though for a couple of years, wholeheartedly take that leap. The odds are in your favor. 99 times out of 100, real estate's going to appreciate. Even in down economies, we see real estate appreciating. So if something's holding you back, reach out to Rodrigo or myself. We're happy to have conversations with anybody. Our end goal is always we want to be your biggest advocate. We both believe in building generational wealth, and it's statistically proven. You want to leave something awesome for your kids and your grandkids? Buy real estate. So, Rodrigo, thank you so much. I know we could go on forever and ever and ever, but we should probably tell people what we're drinking and wrap this up for the evening.
That is true. Are we allowed to say the bottle?
We are. You want to do the reveal? You've got it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're drinking one of my favorites. It's the Distillers Select Woodford Reserve. Yeah, there you go. Can you guys see it?
There you go.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a safe choice. I feel rich and sophisticated when I drink this. And like I said, it's usually with the boys, so it's always around good conversations and usually good food. It's a go-to for me, 100%.
Which is great. I mean, it's got a great tone. You get the caramel and the vanilla that comes through. It's subtle. It's not overpowering. The oakiness is balanced. The Glenfiddich, the oak was a bit more powerful, and that kind of like just overrode just about everything else in that. But
Correct.
yeah, this Distiller Select. The other thing I love about this is a $30 bottle of whiskey out here.
Yeah,
Like
it does not break the bank.
it's a shelfer, and you're gonna enjoy it, and it makes one heck of an old fashioned.
Absolutely. That's what I love about it.
Hey, do you have anything else you feel like you've got to make sure people here tonight for coming into 2025 spring market? You got anything else you want to part with us?
Well, obviously, shameless plug. If you guys want to find out what's going on in the Miami market or general South Florida market, follow me on Instagram and any other social media that I have. It's not your typical realtor. And, you can get a sneak peek of all the properties that I'm touring and, market updates and, the lifestyle of what it is to be in Miami. Additionally, too, if you're trying to escape the cold from the Northeast, I'm telling you, like today was 82 and sunny. It was an absolute beautiful day. It reminded me a lot of what the Chicago summers are like. And I love the Chicago summers. It's unbeatable. But I would say that our winters kind of rival that. So, if you're looking for an investment property or if you're looking to get a second home and you want to diversify markets, Alex and I work together. We can help you make that happen. Cheers to drinking whiskey tonight, man. Thank you for having me. I definitely appreciate the time and attention and educating me a little bit more because I am a novice in this world. And I know you have a little bit more expertise. So I definitely appreciate it.
We're going to do some more investing topics in the future here. So, like I said, Rodrigo's going to be back. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
No problem, man. Thank you.